What are some things that could potentially shake up the 2025 college football season? We're going to shake and bake a little bit on today's show. Welcome in. It is Tuesday, June 10th, 2025. Last one on the face of the planet. Dude, it is bizarre. We're already talking about college football in the month of June. This time in 1 month, we will be playing the college football video game, and then we will also be looking around the corner and see SEC Media Days on the horizon. If you love college football with every fiber of your being, welcome home. This is a show for college football sickos, by college football sickos, but let's not waste too much more time. I told you we're going to talk about some things that are going to shake up the college football season or potentially could shake up the college football season throughout today's show, but I want to start with us unpacking some tiers in the Southeastern Conference. Now, to be clear, this is not a ranking system. This is not a rating system. All we're doing right now is putting these teams in the Southeastern Conference into specific categories as to how we're assessing them as this sits right now heading into the 2025 season. So the first tier that we need to unpack is a tier that we like to call comparison is a thief. You've heard that quote, comparison is the thief of joy. That's how you feel right now, or how you should feel if you're Kentucky or you're Mississippi State. Because right now you're flipping through the preview magazines, and you see everyone talking about what Ole Miss is going to be, what Tennessee is going to be, what Alabama is going to be. Run your race, man. Run like your over-under win total, respectively. Kentucky at 4.5, Mississippi State at 3.5. Philadelphia from Modern Family has a tremendous quote. He says, "The greatest things in life can happen to you if you just lower your expectations." This might not be the year, but if it is the year, if it is the year you go win 7 games, 8 games, make a bowl. I mean, throw a parade. Let's put expectations in the proper place, not compare ourselves, and feel better about ourselves at the end of the college football season because of that. Next tier, solid and scrappy. Tier is exactly what it sounds like. These are teams that I'm not picking to make the college football playoff, but teams that could absolutely ruin your Saturday. Just ask Alabama. In this tier, we got Missouri, Arkansas, Vanderbilt. All 3 of these teams feel like they got a guy at quarterback that could maybe make some things happen. Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt has totally changed the culture over there along with Clark Lee. Taylor Green in Arkansas, man, people forget. Tennessee rolled in to Little Rock, or Fayetteville, I should say, because Little Rock is on the way over there. Played that Sam Pittman Arkansas team and left with an L. Like, are they going to be a team that wins the SEC? I would happen to believe that's not the case, but by the DNA of that football team under Sam Pittman, by what Taylor Green can do with his legs and giving you a complex game plan to have to work with, have to account for on defense, can make things happen for you. Bo Pribula, probably one of the greatest unknowns in the SEC, very quietly for that staff under Eli Drinkwitz playing quarterback out there. We'll see what he is. But all 3 of these teams, again, I'm probably not picking them to go win 10 games. Missouri, maybe with that schedule, gets near that mark. But at the end of the day, they're going to give you a game every single Saturday. Now, the next category is the eyes emoji category. All right, you know what I'm saying now. Whenever you fire off a text with the eyes emoji, you're a little bit unsure or maybe optimistic, or that the eyes emoji can mean a lot of things, which I guess is kind of where we land on this whole deal. All 3 of these teams, Ole Miss, Texas A&M, and Auburn, to me have a very distinct ain't no telling factor to them. Like, I have no idea what we're going to get from Jackson Arnold and Auburn this year, but if that clicks, how good could Auburn be? Better question, how many points a game is Auburn going to score? If Auburn scoring 35, 38 points a game, make no mistake, with those weapons and Hugh Freeze calling the show, they could do that. How good is Auburn going to be? I guess that's kind of the thought you arrive at. A&M we'll talk about throughout the course of this offseason as well and what that offense is going to be. I've told y'all, though, I love Marcel Reed. I love Colin Klein with Marcel Reed as the OC over there. I love Le'Veon Moss, one of the more underrated backs in all of college football, was killing it last year before he got hurt. Ole Miss, Lane Kiffin's got a portal class every single year where they're in a good spot to make some noise in the SEC in the college football playoff world. Like, I know that softball may be not his strong suit. Calling an offense, getting a quarterback, that is his strong suit. So I'm just saying all 3 of those teams, to me, have a real potential to make some noise because of their personnel, because of their roster, and also to be real because of their head coach. Ain't no telling. All 3 of those teams, eyes emoji tier for us. Now, here's another tier that I think is really specific to the SEC this year. There is a number of quarterbacks in this conference that have tremendous boom factor to them, to where if they end up having a great season or to play to their potential, I should say. I mean, Oklahoma, Florida, South Carolina, They're all in the because you got a guy tier for us on this show. And just what I was saying, because you have a dude at quarterback at Florida, because you have a dude at quarterback at South Carolina, Oklahoma, all three of those teams I think have a playoff kind of ceiling because of what they could get from their quarterback. So I'm not saying they're going to make the playoff, but I am saying if they do make the playoff or they do find themselves in that spot at the end of the year, kind of on the bubble, it's not happening for South Carolina without Lenora Sellers, or for Oklahoma without John Mateer, without DJ Lagway for Florida. Not only the quarterback, but quarterback's a pretty large part of that. Now, I've said this a couple times, but LSU to me is in a tier of their own. They're in what I call the frozen pizza tier. All right, so I'm running out of reasons, quite frankly, to not pick LSU to win the SEC. Now, this is not a ranking, but I'm just saying, like, LSU, all they have via the portal, Garrett Nussmeier, another year after he threw for 4,000 yards with no running game. Brian Kelly is a guy who's won north of 70% of his games, coached for over 20 years. Like, it's all there for LSU. Now, you got to put it together. You got to major in all of what we call the other stuff that championship teams major in. But LSU as a whole, I love the way that they're built from a roster level. I understand there's some new pieces you're breaking in. But if it all clicks, if it all fits, that frozen pizza looking better and better as we get further into this offseason. Now, another tier that has to be discussed, though, the don't forget about us tier. As we move into this offseason, it's very funny. It feels like the buzz around a Tennessee and a Alabama is maybe less than it has been. Feels like maybe it's less than it should be. Alabama, if they get a dude at quarterback, now make no mistake, I'm not saying a serviceable dude. I'm not saying a guy who can manage the game for you. I'm talking about if you get a real plus at quarterback, whether that's Ty Simpson, Keelan Russell, Austin Mack, whoever it is, if they have a plus at quarterback, they will be a playoff team. Defense is good enough. Weapons are good enough. Kalen DeBoer, Ryan Grubb, I think they're good enough. Like, there's a lot there to where if the quarterback is a guy, they're going to have a chance to not just make the playoff, make a run in the playoff. And for Tennessee, they lost Nico Iamaleava, and I think that maybe muddied the water a little bit as to what they're going to be. But Josh Heupel in Tennessee and what they've built via the portal and the recruiting trail, that's still a really solid roster. Like, Nico didn't light the world on fire last year, as Tennessee fans would tell you. So don't forget about those teams. They're absolutely going to be in the mix. And then our final tier, our top tier, I suppose, if you want to be specific about this, the all-natty tier. It's about a national title for Georgia and Texas. It is, man. Like, I know you have a new quarterback for both those schools, but with what you have built via what I just said for Tennessee, how they've recruited, specifically with Texas and Georgia the last couple of years. I mean, Kirby Smart's had a top 10 or a top 3 class, I should say, going now on his 10th season. Texas just wrapped up the number 1 class in America this most previous cycle, and they've had multiple top 5 classes since Steve Sarkisian's been there. The pedigree of the coaching staff, most specifically their head coach, Kirby Smart, you would say, is the best coach in the sport right now. Steve Sarkisian probably entering into that top 3 category in the sport right now. It's all there for those teams to be in contention to go compete for a national championship. If Georgia doesn't win the national championship this year, folks in Athens will say, wasn't good enough. Same deal for Texas. If you need more proof of that, go look to what has happened the last couple of seasons for both those schools. Georgia won the SEC last year. And people are asking the question today, is Georgia still Georgia? Is Kirby Smart still? Like, we're having that conversation after you just won the toughest conference in college football based on NFL draft picks from a talent perspective. So I'm excited to see what happens there. But overall, man, that's the all-natty tier for me. It's national title or not, or bust, I suppose, for Texas and Georgia as it pertains to the 2025 season. So to recap it for you here, the tiers in the SEC for us, subject to change. Comparison, it's the thief of joy for Kentucky and Mississippi State. Solid and scrappy, Missouri, Vanderbilt, Arkansas. Any given Saturday, they can ruin it for you. The eyes emoji for me, A&M, Ole Miss, and Auburn. Because you got a guy at quarterback, you got a chance in Oklahoma, Florida, and South Carolina. Do not forget about Alabama and Tennessee. Frozen pizza for me is still LSU in the national championship or bust. It's all natty for Texas and Georgia here in 2025. I'm excited to reevaluate those as we get further into the season. We might have to redo this post-media days, but regardless, that's how we see the SEC right now as it pertains to the tiers. All right, speaking of the SEC, Caden Smith and I got in the office today and started talking about what the show is going to look like, what segments we want to see, and Caden's like, hey, man, did you see that DJ Lagway, Anthony Richardson picture? I was like, no, I guess I missed it. If you haven't seen this yet, DJ Lagway and Anthony Richardson are training together, it looks like, and seeing them side by side is absolutely ridiculous. Go ahead and check this out. Anthony Richardson is listed at 6'4", 244. Y'all, DJ Lagway, I don't know if it's the angle. I don't know if it's the slides. I don't know if it's the shirt. DJ Lagway looks like he is as big, if not bigger, than Anthony Richardson. Now, on paper, DJ Lagway's put at 6'3", 241. Somebody's lying here. Somebody is not telling the truth about what's going on there from a measurables perspective for a one DJ Lagway. That dude's massive. That is absolutely massive. And so if you're a Florida fan, when AR was your quarterback, what was the thing that was told to you, force-fed to you, Baby Gerber style, going into the starting season for Anthony Richardson when he was your quarterback one? The physical tools for this guy, the giftings. He's got first-round draft pick written all over him with a solid season. You were sold so much on the tools, the physicality of what he was and what he is in the NFL right now. And DJ Lagway, well, he's not the same, I don't think, quality of athlete that Anthony Richardson is. You see the frame and you saw the skill set last year. I would argue DJ Lagway, as a quarterback, is a more proven commodity as a true quarterback than AR was when he was at Florida. Now, AR has a larger body of work to work with. If we're going to go ahead and compare, the sample size is a little bit different because AR obviously has a full season under his belt. But like when you saw DJ Lagway last year making throws against LSU, making throws against Ole Miss, you saw it to where you could point to it and say, okay, that's real. That's real. Can he build off of that? That's the true question. But he was doing things to where you're saying we can actually run the offense around that skill set. Whereas with AR, you weren't sure what you were going to get any given weekend. And some of that was because AR was dinged up. I understand that. But like a lot of it was, hey, AR's got to throw on the cape today, make something happen for us to be successful, for him to be successful. Like, it wasn't a very much so in structure kind of approach offensively when you would watch Florida with him running the show. So now with DJ Lagway and what I just said, him being a more proven commodity as a quarterback, that's great. But I think the place that Florida's at too needs to be spoken to, and we compare, AR and DJ Lagway. We just talked about Anthony Richardson having to throw on the cape for him to be successful. As best as I can remember, we had to have AR throw on the cape for Florida to be successful. And give him credit. There's several times where he did it, and it was the difference. Like the Utah game, I think lives in the minds of most Florida fans more specifically. But like DJ Lagway's in a spot now with top 20 returning production in college football, with what they believe at Florida, pretty solid receiving core, great offensive line, solid defense. Like there's a lot built out around DJ Lagway to where you don't have to ask him to be what Anthony Richardson was at different points in time for you in Gainesville. You can have DJ Lagway just be DJ Lagway and make the proper throws, make the correct reads, still have that special skill set. But if he plays his role within the system, and it's a big role, Florida's going to be a tough out every single Saturday. And that's, I think, the biggest thing with DJ Lagway, man. He gives you a chance in every single Saturday if you're a Florida fan. It's a different kind of optimism you wake up with him as your quarterback, all right? So now here's the biggest thing that we need to remember when we assess DJ Lagway. And Caden Smith has been pounding this drum for a while, and I'm going to go ahead and echo his sentiment. I am fiending like a kid on Christmas waiting to open presents for some good DJ Lagway intel around fall camp. Because as much as you get excited about what last year was, there's a party that says, okay, I love that. I think that's real, but it has to be built upon. We keep saying this. It's the preview to the movie. The preview was awesome. Like, count me in. I'm there. I'm buying a ticket. I might even be at the midnight premiere for this movie. But I'm just saying the preview has got to still equate to a good movie. That's all we can go off of right now. So for DJ Lagway now, missing spring practice, you don't love it. You need him to get healthy. You need him to be able to build off of what last year was. If he builds off of what last year was and he takes a step again, Florida's going to be in that mix for the college football playoff. And that's not me selling hopium. That's not us trying to be clickbaity. Like, that's just the reality. You saw it last year with how they played LSU and how they played Ole Miss. Two what I would call college football playoff caliber rosters. Not playoff caliber teams, but playoff caliber rosters. And Florida went toe-to-toe and beat both those teams, all right? The intel around him over at Gators Online, I'm going to be checking every single day. I want to hear, hey, Lagway's zipping it. Hey, Lagway, not just zipping it. He's on time. He's on the money. There's good chemistry. If we get that version of DJ Lagway, watch out. Because the physical tools like AR, they're special. We know that. It may not be throwing backflips down like Anthony Richardson was in pregame warmups, and that's fine. I don't need that from my quarterback. But the physical skill set is there. The play style is there. I told you he's built for chaos. If you watched our breakdown on what he brings to the table from an overall football player standpoint and how he is able to creating space and able to ad-lib and play off script and all that. But if he takes another step from last year, again, Florida's going to be a very, very tough out, and they might be more than just a team that has a guy at quarterback. They could be a team that makes some real noise and making something happen in November in the SEC. So we'll see what happens there, but that little summer propaganda you got with AR and DJ Lagway standing next to each other looking pretty comparable in size. Dare I say DJ Lagway looking bigger than AR? Not the worst thing in the world as you head into the part of the college football calendar year that is, of course, talking season, which we will, of course, partake in. So speaking of talking season and summer propaganda, we got some more propaganda courtesy of QB Country over on the Twitter sphere, dropping a little Arch Manning training highlights. All right, go ahead and check these out. Looks like he's training in his home state of Louisiana at Tulane Stadium, throwing around a little bit. Two things jump off from this clip, all right? One, different movement skills than a one Quinn Ewers. Two, that throw right there. He drives the football different than Quinn Ewers. Some of that might be Quinn Ewers' injury, and I understand all that. But, like, you see a very different level when it comes to, again, the athlete that he is and the way that he throws the football. A lot of the Quinn Ewers throws were kind of just, like, placed in there, feathered in there, the touch, which was great. But you have a guy now that can throw a dig 18, 20 yards over the middle and freaking drive that sucker, all right? Arch Manning brings that to the table. Now, do we learn anything from this with Arch Manning? Do we know he's going to be a better quarterback because we got a snippet from QB Country on Twitter? No, we don't. But here's my thing. At this point in the college football calendar year, I'll take a training video from a quarterback I can't wait to see in the fall. I'll take it. You know what it is? It's the vibes guy of the friend group. What does the vibes guy really bring to your friend group? Funny joke in the group chat here and there. Maybe he kind of lifts the mood of everybody when you're heading out to wherever you're going for dinner or for your night or your plans that night. Just it's good vibes. Does it actually bring that much to the table? No offense to the vibes guy. No, you're not probably making him your best man at your wedding. He's probably not making the speech at your wedding. Maybe he's making the speech a little bit later in the wedding. I don't know. But you hear what I'm saying. Like, this is good vibes if you're a Texas fan. That's all this is. Now, I would say, though, going back to what we said about knowing that Arch Manning is a different kind of quarterback than Quinn Ewers, this is verifying that to me, okay? If we needed to see something, I'll rephrase that. You can go back and watch Arch Manning last year and see stuff like this, but to see him progressing in the offseason and to see it once again, just a good reminder. So there's not really a ton to take away from this, but if there is something you want to take away, it's just verification. The offense will be different. We'll have a different tone, different look, different feel with Arch Manning running your system. More quarterback run game. You have probably a different perspective when the play breaks down, like you just saw him, repping during that training session. Different level of, it feels like maybe drive with the football. All those things are true. Get excited about that because you have that's still developing with Arch Manning. But we'll say it now for the umpteenth time. If the Texas defense is as good as we think they're going to be, it won't matter what Arch Manning looks like outside of that first game in Columbus, Ohio. They're going to be in a spot to once again compete for a national championship and once again compete for an SEC championship. That's just the facts of the matter. And that is just the facts of what Steve Sarkisian has built in Austin. So good vibes for the folks in Texas. You love seeing a little Arch Manning training session. Also, doesn't it kind of feel like we weren't supposed to have that? Like Arch Manning, his camp been very, very guarded with the stuff they've put out there for the public to consume. The fact that I'm assuming the Manning camp gave the green light to QB Country to put that out there. I'm just saying, felt like we're starting to get more and more access to what Arch Manning is as a college football player. His first appearance in any propaganda segment here for us on this show, at least. So take of that as you will. Now here's a fun one that I want to, or a fun exercise for us to do together here on this show as we move forward into the wonderful month that is June in the world of college football. We've talked about a lot of the favorites ad nauseum here. We've talked a lot about teams that are going to, probably be in that discussion for a college football playoff spot. But what would be the agents of chaos in the world of college football here in 2025? What would really shake things up? I got a few I want us to unpack together. The first, though, is what if Dylan Raiola at Nebraska plays to the caliber of his commitment poem? And that sounds like a shot. I promise you it's not. Like, go ahead and just actually scratch all that. Let's read Dylan Raiola's commitment poem for when he committed to Nebraska. Remember, at this point, he's been committed to Georgia. Before that, committed to Ohio State. And he drops a banger on us of sorts via social media. Cato, let's play that poetry music right now, man. Go ahead and check this out. From Dylan Raiola. in the realm of college dreams, where purpose takes flight. Enter Dylan Raiola crafting his narrative in the night, once lured by Georgia, where powerhouse glory gleamed, yet Nebraska's purpose in his heart brightly beamed. In the scarlet and cream, where legacies entwine, Dylan, like Rogers, Rozier, and Crouch, a hero in the line. No longer a cog in some powerhouse machine, right, a little bit of a shot there, but a quarterback with an even greater ambition unseen. So, fellow fans await, with hope in the air, for Dylan to choose his purpose to declare. In a weekend's decision, destiny calls to fulfill his purpose where a new dynasty enthralls. Bars all the way across the board there. Okay, so people are going to clown this. People did clown this, and that's fine. I'm not here to rehash the whole poem itself, but if Dylan Raiola plays to some of the lines in that poem, like, go ahead and check this out. Last line, to fulfill his purpose where a new dynasty enthralls. Wants to go win some championships. I'm assuming national championship was on his mind when he committed to Nebraska, and that's all well and good, but let's dial it back a little bit. Just competing for a Big Ten championship. Let's just say he does that. Let's say that Nebraska plays to that level. Let's say that more specifically, Dylan Raiola handles his part in doing that. That means he's probably playing at an all-conference level, okay, which to ballpark this thing, that'd mean he probably has a year where he throws for 30 touchdowns and 5 picks. That was right around the territory Curtis Rourke was in last year for Indiana, and Curtis Rourke played in 11 games. If he just does his part, it would feel like the biggest puzzle piece for Nebraska to have correct, especially with what Matt Rule is going to bring to the table as a head coach and the attitude and the makeup of this team. In short, it would make Nebraska, to me at least, a version of a complete team. Because a Matt Rule football team, from experience, they will major in the line of scrimmage. They will run the football, they will block, they will tackle, they will be disciplined, especially in year 3. They will kind of have all the culmination of what he's done since he got to Lincoln. They will have all of that, I think, crescendo. So if Dylan Raiola adds a legitimate vertical presence in this offense, and you have to worry about not just, playing on the line of scrimmage, you have to actually defend a deep level of the field as well. Nebraska can win in some more high-scoring games, can win in low-scoring games. That would be, I think, the key to Nebraska being in a spot where they could then, talk about the college football playoff. Because, how many times have we talked about this? Nebraska being in a spot where they can't win a close game. That was the thing people said for the longest time before Dylan Raiola got there. Well, now if Dylan Raiola is playing at an all-conference kind of level and he plays the caliber of what I just told you he was talking about in that commitment poem, what do you have? You have a true take the last shot kind of guy at quarterback, right? Game is close, game is tied, down by 3, up by whatever it is. You have a dude that you look to in the fourth quarter and say, 15, your ball, let's roll. Nebraska, for my memory at least, I can't think of a time where they've had a true dude to point to and say, take us there, go win the game. If Dylan Raiola is that guy for them, okay, again, big puzzle piece paired with everything else that Matt Rule is bringing to the table, and Nebraska's dangerous because the schedule is workable. Schedule is very workable. How many times have we told you, man? Yeah, check this out. 4 true road games? That's doable, especially with what you expect this roster to be under Matt Rule now in year 3, where the receiving core is supposed to be better. I haven't even talked about Dana Holgorsen and what he's going to be for Dylan Raiola and his next step. There's a lot to like about where the team is at in itself, but pair with that schedule, I think it's fair to have this kind of conversation around Nebraska right now. I really do. I will say this too. I told you they're going to clown the poem. They have clowned the poem. Me personally, I want my quarterback to feel this way about himself. All the best, I think, athletes and competitors have a bit of a extra level of, confidence to them. I'm fine with this. I'm more fine with this if Dylan Raiola backs it up on the field now in his second year as a starting quarterback, and they're in a spot where they're playing for a college football playoff berth. They're playing for a Big Ten championship. So that would absolutely shake up the rest of college football because you got Nebraska finding their way into the 12-team playoff, and that'd be nuts. Or, heck, finding their way into the Big Ten title game, and that'd also be nuts. But my expectation level on all this is kind of splitting the difference between where Dylan Raiola is in terms of speaking to Nebraska being a contender for dynasties and whatnot, and then what last year was, which is a pretty large gap to split. But I think if you're a Nebraska fan, expect good, expect improvement, expect yourself to win a lot of these games that you were close in a year before, or expect yourself to be in a spot where you can go win 8-9 games. And at that point, then, you set yourself up for another year with Dylan Raiola to where now we're really saying, okay, it's got to be playoff. And this isn't me telling you to lower expectations, but this is trying to maybe just have a realistic expectation. That's not clickbaity. That's not going to, juice up our numbers or our likes. That's just how we feel about it, man. I think Dylan Raiola is really good. I think the expectation is to go win something this year based on what they have. But at the same time, what I'm expecting is Dylan Raiola to be improved, offense to be improved, and good could be good enough to get you into that spot, I guess is my overall takeaway here. So I love the way this whole thing builds up for Raiola. I love the way that this whole thing builds up for Nebraska. If Raiola plays at that level, all bets are off for Nebraska. So keep a pulse on that. All right, moving right along here. Let's go from one side of the Colorado-Nebraska rivalry to the Colorado side. Hey, the big shakeup could be if Caden Salter keeps the Colorado offense at cruising altitude. Kind of a wild statement, but let's say it again. If Caden Salter keeps the Colorado offense juiced up to where that's the tip of the spear for them, and that allows them to play the style of ball they want to play, what's happening in college? What's happening in the Big 12? I first want us to make sure that we are all aligned on this thought. There is going to be a lot of people asking the question, can Caden Salter replace Shedeur Sanders? Hey, is Caden Salter as good as Shedeur Sanders was? The answer there is he's probably not going to be what Shedeur Sanders was. Shedeur Sanders threw for 4,000 yards. Okay, so that's first off. Second off, though, he's a totally different player than Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders, the last 2 years, had negative rushing yards. Caden Salter ran for over 1,600 yards the last 2 years combined. So he's got some wiggle to him. Colorado was 107th last year in sack rate. Translation, whether you want to put it on Shedeur or whether you want to put it on the offensive line, there's still some things being worked out there. Now, it was improved from a year before, but they're still trying to get their footing there. You have a guy now at quarterback that can not just avoid a sack, he can avoid a sack and then make it a first down for you. So when you watch Colorado this year, it's going to probably look a little bit different. You might look at the percentages at the end of the year from pass to run, and it might be a bit more balanced. Last year, Colorado was right around 60 pass, 40 run. Might be 55 pass, 45 run. Might be 50-50. I don't know how it's all going to look, but the thing we have to get square here is Caden Salter and the Colorado offense will be a different kind of product than what Shedeur Sanders in that offense was. And the reason why that's okay is because the way that they've built this roster now, it's a year 3 of a rebuild. In year 3 of anything, what do you have settled at that point? The foundation. Whether it's a new job, whether you're at a new school, whether it's building something, at that point, you kind of have the basics figured out, right? You know where your classes are. You know who your coworkers are. You have the foundation of the house set. You're building on top of it at that point. And Deion Sanders said as much on I believe it was a podcast with Dale and Jeremiah at the Big 12 combine that they had. He's like, we probably won't have a Travis Hunter or a Shedeur Sanders, but overall, our talent level will be better. And that's not just him saying that on the microphone. We've said it multiple times on this show. He's telling you that by how they're not using the portal the same way. They're not going after 50 guys in the transfer portal. It's a lot less. Why? Because they don't need quite as much. And so, to speak to Caden Salter, when you talk about what he has around him, it may not be the Travis Hunter names, but there's still some names that maybe people don't know just yet that are going to be big-time contributors. Like Joseph Williams has flashed a couple of times on this show for spring propaganda, making plays during Colorado spring practice. American Conference Freshman of the Year last year, ball player. Amarion Miller had a great game against USC his freshman year, went for almost 200 yards on 7 catches. Didn't play as much last year, but could he step up this upcoming season and be a guy for you? I think he absolutely will be. If we've learned anything about Deion Sanders and the way that he is doing business at Colorado and the way that football team rolls at Colorado, is just whatever you believe about them in the preseason, hold that very loosely. Because preseason 2 years ago, we're all like, they got national title runner-up TCU for their first game. They're going to get rolled. Nope. Colorado won and put egg on all of our face. Cool. Year 2, hey, if they could just make a bowl game, great. Just make a bowl game. That'd be success. They go out and win 9 games. I think that Caden Salter keeping this offense at a cruising altitude would keep Colorado in that same altitude from a wins perspective. And if that happens, there is chaos across the Big 12 once again, because Colorado plays a lot of teams that could find themselves in Jerry World, from BYU to Iowa State to Arizona State. Also, they get all three of those teams at home. And then for the cherry on top, I believe they play one of the Big 12 favorites at Kansas State for the final game of the regular season. So my expectation around this is I am expecting this to happen the same way that I'm expecting to laugh at a Shane Gillis stand-up that I've never seen. I kind of know what I'm getting into. I kind of understand how this whole thing is going to work and feel and look, but I've never actually seen this show, never actually gone to this specific show. But Deion Sanders is in charge. I've seen Caden Salter play football. I saw him play at a really high level 2 years ago at Liberty. I think it's probably going to work out. So Caden Salter, I think he will keep Colorado at cruising altitude offensively, and I see no reason why Colorado will take a step back when it comes to what the Big 12 is and where they stand in the pecking order out there. Here's another big shakeup potential for us. Hey, what if Tennessee has a top 10 defense yet again in college football in 2025? We'll unpack that right now, but if you're a Tennessee fan or a college football sicko, make sure you're subscribed right here to the On3 YouTube channel, College Football, nothing but college football all year round, and we appreciate y'all being dialed in. Now, here's the first part. This have a massive impact on the landscape of college football as it pertains to the postseason, because last year Tennessee, we've said it a lot, but like it was really the Dylan Sampson and defense show last year, right? Like Nico, it's tough to lose him, and his upside, I think, for the next season was what got you excited, but it wasn't like production-wise, he totally carried you offensively to where you got last year. That was how good your defense was. That was how good your run game was. So assuming your defense is still top 10 in college football, and assuming that going along with that, you get a Josh Heupel caliber run game, which he's had, last couple of years, right around 200 yards a game. I don't think that'll drop off just because the personnel changes. Tennessee will be a playoff team. There's no and, or, but. There's no qualifier. Tennessee, with a top 10 defense in the country, will be a playoff team. I think Joey Aguilar will give you better production from what you had a year ago. So even if the run game isn't quite what it was from the last couple of years, not 200 yards a game, I think he's going to be good enough to offset some of that, quite frankly. But the ripple effect of that statement to me is what is the most interesting. Because if Tennessee is a playoff team, it's fair to assume they're probably in the range of 10-2 like they were last year. Who do they beat on the way to 10-2? Because they play a lot of teams that I think are going to be pretty good. Georgia, can expect that. At Alabama, Oklahoma, where do they fit in? At Florida, the folks in Gainesville, don't tell them this, they're thinking playoff. So if Tennessee is going to be a team that goes 10-2, they probably hand two, not probably, they definitely hand at least two of those teams a loss. What does that mean for the rest of the SEC and the way that whole thing looks? The big takeaway, though, from a Tennessee perspective, as you look past 2025, what this would mean to me, if Tennessee has a top 10 defense in college football, this to me would verify Josh Heupel's SEC card, if it wasn't already verified. Because what it would say is Josh Heupel, offensive guy, used to play quarterback. Everyone remembers 2022 when Hendon Hooker and Jalen Hyatt and 40-plus points a game and all that. But if you win on defense and you do it with a top 10 unit each of the last 2 years, you stamp that thing. Stamp the SEC card for Josh Heupel. He understands, not just understands, he executes what it takes to win in this conference. Because at that point, there's no flukes, man. There's no, they just got the right portal class. They just got the right, circumstances that all came together at the right time. He has, at that point, recruited, evaluated, hired his staff to have success in the SEC at a sustained level. There would be no questions about that. So what that does, outside of having success on the field for Tennessee in 2025, you can then change, I think, some of the way that you recruit on the trail as well. And Tennessee's already doing this. Their last two, or their most previous class, their top two commitments were on the line of scrimmage. They're already marketing themselves as a tough line of scrimmage football team. But if you do it for 2 years in a row on the defensive side, think about the way that you can access other defensive talent at the high school level and make that pitch. Yeah, we're going to win ball games here. Yeah, we're going to throw the ball. We're going to score points. We're going to run the ball, all that. But we're going to play tough defense, and that's why you can come to Tennessee and have success at a high level at the NFL level. We're going to develop you, put you in a good spot to succeed because you'll have good tape at the college level. And I think that in itself cannot be overlooked. So my expectation this happens, to put it simply, it's growing. It's growing. Like, the first day of school, after you finish the most recent school year, You look ahead to the next school year, and you're like, man, I don't want to get there, dude. I don't even want to think about that. I'm dreading that to some degree. But, June turns to July turns to August, and at some point you're like, man, I'm actually pretty optimistic. I'm actually ready for that first day of school. Last year the season ends and the Ohio State game's kind of ugly, and you're like, man, I don't know if it's going to happen again this year. But then you get some more, reports out of Volquest, Tennessee on 3 site. You start to look at the depth. What's Brett Hubbs saying? What's Austin Price saying? Eric Kane. Okay, they actually feel pretty good. Actually, there is pretty good depth on that roster. Okay, you know what? I'm pretty optimistic about this first day of school for Tennessee. So we're not making our prediction just yet, but if that happens, Tennessee's a playoff team, and their juice in the recruiting trail would only increase more than it is right now, and that's saying something about the climate right now in Knox Vegas. All right, last segment for us here. Let's go to the ACC. Haven't gone out there just yet. Let's talk a little bit about what's going on out in Louisville, Kentucky. Big shakeup potential. Hey, what if the Brohm squad, Jeff Brohm and the boys, what if he goes for a hat trick when it comes to the QB magic? Who's playing quarterback out there? Miller Moss. Okay, now he is going to be the third portal quarterback under Jeff Brohm in 3 years. Before that, Jake Plummer. Most recently, it was Tyler Shuck. I'll say this. Those 2 quarterbacks, Plummer and Shuck, both had their best seasons of their college career under Jeff Brohm, and both threw for over 3,000 yards. If Miller Moss has his best season of his college career and he throws for over 3,000 yards, Louisville's going to be a shake-up team in the ACC, and by correlation, be a shake-up team in the rest of college football, because in their schedule, man, they play Clemson, they play Miami, they play SMU. Like, they play 3 of the top 4 odds to win the conference. And, Louisville is third best odds right now to win the conference. So if that doesn't make sense, I apologize. But let's say Miller Moss lights it up, man. Louisville thwacked Clemson at Clemson last year. Everyone's already picking Clemson to win the ACC. We might do it on this show. But if Miller Moss is that dude because of Jeff Brohm, okay, here we go. At Miami on a Friday night. Weird things happen in the ACC on Friday night. Is that secondary fixed in Coral Gables? We'll find out. Miller Moss and the boys, they'll find out. At SMU, they lost by 1 score against SMU last year. It wasn't like they're just worlds apart, a playoff team, SMU. So you see what I'm saying? There's a lot of dominoes that could happen in the ACC if Miller Moss ends up being that guy. Caden Smith, I keep referencing Caden on this show, but he's been dealing just takes left and right. If Miller Moss is Kyle McCord from last year, what would that say about Louisville? Because remember, Kyle McCord, there's kind of that same vibe, right, after he left Ohio State. Didn't really play that well, not up to standard. Didn't play well enough to keep his job, but lost in all the shuffle of the narrative of social media and what people want you to believe on Twitter and punchline culture. Kyle McCord seemingly wasn't the issue at Ohio State. He definitely wasn't not good enough to play at Ohio State. Went and led the country in passing last year for Syracuse. So it wasn't a talent thing. He's not a bad player. He just didn't play well enough at Ohio State. Miller Moss, same deal at USC. Not a bad player, just didn't play well enough at USC in specific situations to keep his job. So all that's to say now, you look across the ACC, you look across what Louisville is, Jeff Brohm, once again, not just grabbing a portal quarterback, but grabbing darn near 30 transfers via the transfer portal. If Jeff Brohm has success yet again in the ACC with the way that he puts his roster together and has success with another portal quarterback, he's ACC Lane Kiffin. He is. Every single year, it's just like, well, who do they have coming back? Well, I don't know. There's question marks. Then every single year, portal class, a lot of guys, new faces, and they give you a game every single Saturday. So my expectation level for this is kind of like when you tell your friends, hey, just so you know, or you use the phrase, hey, just full transparency. Like, I don't know if I'm banking on this happening necessarily, but I think we should all be aligned in the reality that this could happen. Miller Moss lighting it up under Jeff Brohm and Louisville being a problem in the ACC, heck, playing for the conference, it could happen. And that's not, it could happen like you need a bunch of different things to fall into place. Miller Moss being a guy is what would have this whole thing happen. So making sure everyone's in the know, making sure that everyone's on the same page, that's what good friends do. And we're trying to do that on this show, The Hard Count, with us all being aligned that Miller Moss could be a dude in the ACC, could have to deal with Louisville. So we'll see what happens there. But just so you know, that's how this whole thing could look. Hey, appreciate y'all being locked in, man, and making this show what it is. It's an exciting time now. About to round the corner into the month of July, which is bizarre to say out loud, but here we are. And I want y'all a part of it, man. So again, make sure you're subscribed. Got a voicemail show around the corner. If you don't know what I'm talking about, 629-888-3931. Leave us a voicemail with your college football topic you want unpacked or your take or whatever that ends up being. But get us on there, man. It'll be a good time. So for Kane Smith on the ones and twos, for myself, JD PicKell, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We will keep this party rolling. We will see y'all.